I do think it's slightly a big deal because one of the outside of just like the run game, which is what Vitae has been getting a lot of credit for, we also know the impact that a shaky pocket has on Jared Goff. And so
Yeah.
that's going to be something to keep an eye on because if Jared can't get a clean pocket, then things typically don't go well. Um, and we all know that we need like the very best of JG for the Lions to have a chance at having a successful season.
I think that's actually a really big point, Miko. You're right. You've always said that. I agree. I think we both agree that he
Yeah,
needs a clean pocket and a little bit of time to to deliver that ball. So yeah, oof,
yeah,
oof.
But I
but
don't. I mean, I don't expect them to start the game. I expect him to start out Dinkin and Duncan. I mean, I think this might be getting into game previews, but
oh no, I was about to so you're right there.
yeah,
We were
Yeah,
like
transitioning right
I
into
think
that.
I think I mean, if I'm Dan Campbell, my strategy is kind of to test in the same way that they're probably going to come right back at us and test, did we learn anything?
Yeah,
It really seems the scouting report on the Eagles is mid-range, and that's where Goff feasts. And so I think, and there is absolutely no shortage of weapons in the mid range between Swift, Hawk, Jamal, St. Brown. Um, I mean, I feel like that's our bread and butter. And the problem last season was everyone knew that was our only option. But now between
yeah,
Chark and Reynolds spreading, taking the top off the defense, hopefully that's a little better. But I mean, it's tough because like they have to know that. I mean, we have to test them at some point, but
yeah,
it's crazy to me that in looking into this, the Eagles secondary. I mean, they have like three CB1s basically, like uh three guys who would be CB1 on any team, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just it's preposterous. So like
They're
you have to test them
they're a
at some
good
point.
team.
Yeah, like you have to test him at some point to keep him honest and to open up that game. But at the same time, if Goff looks shaky and he's throwing it deep down the field, oh boy, oh boy,
yeah. I mean,
it
to
could
that point,
it could get really ugly really fast again.
yeah. No, and to your point, Gian, like I kind of expect them to start out the game running. I expect them to put a
Mm,
lot of pressure because I think when they do take those deep shots, they're going to want to do it off of play action. And at least in those situations, you can kind of get Jared Goff on the move. So in the event that he's not just straight dropping back and then hoping
Right.
somebody's open,
yeah,
15 plus yards down the field, if you can get him on some rollouts, some play action movement and take those shots, then yeah, I think the maybe early on is probably when like the best time to take them. And I say that because to the point that you made earlier about um or Scotty that you made about like, hey, the Eagles are probably going to do the same thing that they did last year and see if we learned
Yeah.
anything. The scouting report on Jared Goff is still that he prefers to throw it short and mid range. Like at least that's the current right
Correct. They have
scouting
not
report.
seen him drop any bombs any time recently. He is not
Right. I mean, you like
dropping.
you saw him do it a little bit last year, but like again, are they going to do it like you said? You have very capable corners, right? CB ones across the board. Is there going to be a certain level of bravado, like, oh, they're not going to test us deep? So if you're Dan Campbell, if you're Ben Johnson, I think you at least have to, at least to see what it looks like, to see if it's open, if that level of cockiness is there for you to exploit. And if it is, great, take advantage of it and then make them respect it. But I'm a little concerned if they start out the game dinking and dunking, just because I think you allow the Eagles to just be like, oh, okay, well, no, this is just
Right.
what we're gonna do. We're just gonna play
okay,
cover two and we're
yeah.
gonna,
Okay.
cover everything short.
So now, having said this, my question is, who is calling the plays? Dan or Ben
I think
or
it'll be Ben.
both?
I
Yeah,
think
I
it'll
think
be
it's
Ben.
going to be Ben. I think Dan seemed to be having too much fun in that interview. Like it seemed like he was playing coy. And I think Ben's certainly going to start off playing play calling.
Okay.
And I feel like that's just his whole MO, and that's what he's demonstrated with all of his players that, you've gotten to this point, prove it.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a prove it scenario for Ben Johnson. And I think, yeah, I think DC's going to let him at least prove himself for at least the first half. If it's not going well, then I think he's going to start. He's going to take it over.
Yeah. I mean, it may be something somewhat similar to what we saw last year, where it's a little bit of a check with me type of thing, where,
Okay.
Dan's going to get a little bit of input on certain down and distances of like,
Dan's
nah,
gonna yeah. Okay, go ahead, Miko. I'm sorry.
no,
I'm
because
with
I
you
just,
though.
to that point of that John was just making, I don't know if Dan Campbell will be able to contain his excitement at moments where he's like, yo, let's let it rip.
That's what I was
Let's
saying.
just
Is like
go.
if he's gonna be like, all right, Ben, I need you to go deep in the first on play 2. I need you to drop a bomb.
Yeah, I mean, they say all the time, like when it comes to NFL play calling, like a lot of those plays are scripted, right? You know what plays you're trying to
Sure.
call, at least to
First,
start the game.
yeah, the first 5 plays are scripted for sure.
Yeah. So you're at least knowing what you want to get out there and what you're trying to put on, what type of pressure you're trying to put on the defense. So, but yeah, I think to answer your question, I'm gonna go Ben Johnson. Another question I do have for you guys though, as we're trying to do like a preview slash prediction type of thing with the Lions and Eagles. Who do you guys believe will be the X factors for the Lions? Like in order for the Lions to have a great deal of success against the Eagles, I'll give you guys like two players, right? One offense, one
2?
defense.
Only
Yeah,
2?
offense, defense. You get an offense and a
Oh,
defensive player.
this is so hard.
Yeah.
Need everybody to play amazing.
So I might go. I'm gonna go easy.
Okay.
You
Um,
need easy to play? He's on a
no,
package now.
no, I'm gonna say, as we were just saying, I think both you and Scott were both right. I think Goff. If
Okay.
he has a good game, then I think we stand a chance.
Mhm.
Um, if the guys aren't open, they're not open. But as Miko, as you have said countless times before, um, good quarterbacks elevate the players around them. So if that deep ball isn't there, he's going to find a way to get it to St. Brown. He's going to find a way to get it to Hawkinson. And so I think if he's able to do that, then we stand a chance that we get to keep our defense off the field, give them some rest. Um, so I think
Goffrey.
off on
Goffrey, huh?
offense. And on defense, I'm going to say, I want to say Aiden Hutchinson, but he's a rookie so I'm going to say Charles Harris. Um,
Mm. Okay.
I think if we can contain Jalen Hurts, so
Yeah.
it basically boils down to quarterbacks. Like if Goff has a game and we're able to mitigate Jalen Hurts from scooting around us, then I thought that was so funny.
Smells like you're an 80-year-old. Gotta have him. We can't have him scooting out there. What? John's turning 80.
I've always been an 80-year-old man, and it's like, you know,
As long
uh,
as they're not scooting around out there.
but no. So I think if we're able to contain Jalen Hurts, and I feel like I'm not going to put that all on a rookie in his very first NFL game. So
Sure.
Charles Harris on defense, Jared Goff on offense.
Scotty, you still
Okay.
need a minute or you you
I
got
can
your tip?
go. I can go. All right. So I agree that Goff has to have a good game, but in my opinion, for that to happen, our running game has to go. So I think Swift has to have a game. He's got to catch passes and he's got to run and he's got to make every run count. Uh, and it's going to be a tough game for him. But I think that Swift has to have a game. Um, and I think that so that's on the offense. On the defense,
Mhm.
ooh, I think Anzalone. I think he's got to step up and have a game. I mean, I know he's fast. He's going to have to chase
That's
down
a good
Hurts.
one.
I
That's a
think he's
good
going to
one.
have to have a game. And if he can have a game, that means we're containing Hurts. We're containing Miles Sanders, right? Who's also a very good running back. Let's be
Yeah.
real. He's a very good running back. And so these guys, we're going to have to stop not only Hurts, but their running game. I mean, their running game in general is what they just dug in and said that's what we're going to do last year, and it took them to the playoffs.
I hate to sound redundant here, but I mean, Scotty picked the two that I was going to name off, right? And it is
Sorry.
it is DeAndre Swift. No, you're fine because I agree with you 100%. I do believe that DeAndre Swift has to have a game. He has to have. I mean, he set big goals for himself. Him and Deuce both, and this is the first game to show it, right? This is the first game to take that step to achieving that goal. So you got to be a force. You have to impose your will on this defense, and it's going to be tough, right? We just talked about it. They have a
Yeah.
very difficult and physical defensive line. I can't think of who their linebackers are off the top of my head. I'm not saying that they're
Jordan
nobodies.
Davis
I just Jordan
and
Davis is a
Nakobe
defensive
Dean.
tackle. I was gonna say Nakobe Dean. I don't know if he's starting, but Nakobe Dean is a
Right.
linebacker that they drafted. But I mean, whether it's running or catching, I think DeAndre Swift needs to impose his will on this game because I do think it'll open up things down the line, right? If you're able to keep hitting them and hitting them and hitting them between the tackles or bouncing it outside or whatever, eventually things start to open up, right? Things start to open up downfield, things start to open up on the outside with some of your receivers. But I think it's going to begin and end with DeAndre Swift. And hopefully the coaching staff allows him to do that. On the defensive side, Alex Anzalone is the guy that I was really trying to talk myself into Aiden Hutchinson. And it's not that I don't think Aiden needs to have a game because I think he
Right.
does, like you were saying, John. He does. But I think because of the impact of a Jalen Hurts and a Miles Sanders, Alexander only being the man in the middle, like you have to lock that down. You have to be communicating. You have to have your defensive line, you know, adjusting properly. You need to make sure that you're communicating properly with the secondary. It goes beyond just what he does as far as tackles and making plays. Like you are the mic, you are responsible for making sure that everybody else is on the same page and that everybody is executing at a high level. So a lot of onus goes to him. And I'm putting a little bit of extra on that because we didn't see a lot of him this preseason. Coaches kept him out. And a lot of that was hyped on the fact that, like, hey, Alex has a spot on this team. Alex is going to make this team. So for the coaching staff to have that much belief in him, like he needs to come out and show it first game of the season, and he needs to be that linebacker that can spy on Jalen Hurts, also plug the middle when the ball's given um, to Miles Sanders, and to be able to drop back in coverage to be able to knock passes away and cover tight ends if he's asked to. So Alex Anzalone has a lot on his plate for this game.